Find this and throw it on.
Edit it up. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Go ahead when you're ready.
All right, we're happy now to be joined by Scott Sandlin. I mean, I'm in Bennett's Chop and Rail House on West 7th. And this is our fifth show here. We've been doing this for just over a month. And from the day I walked in, Scott Sandlin, Joe Bennett would not stop shoving Bulldog down my throat. I mean, he's got the Stay Locked jersey behind the bar. And what drives me even more nuts is he says, every time you're in town, he hosts your team for the team dinner. And I told him, I said, well, what the hell are you feeding these guys? Because they've been. I mean, I'm a Gopher fan. I mean, it's my background. I'm a season ticket holder. And I'm like, these guys have been just you've owned us for the last couple of years. It's getting a little embarrassing. So I said, what the hell are you feeding these guys? And next time they're here, let me know. I'm going to come over and slip some Benadryl in their soup or something. I mean, this something's got to change.
Well, as long as he's taking care of you guys when you're there.
Oh God! Seriously, how great is this place? I mean, I could live on the chopped salad alone, but then the sirloin and the au gratin potatoes. I mean, the place is unbelievable. He said you guys eat like animals when you're there.
He feeds us pretty good. There's no question.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and he's so proud. I'm up to the left, forward. I said about 10 o'clock from where I'm sitting are beer stains on the ceiling, and he refuses to clean them or take the tile down because it's from the night you won the national championship. It's like it's like he shakes your hand, he's never going to wash his hand again. That kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's right. That's a good alumni right there.
Well,
he's proud.
Well, one last personal note here. I've got a nephew. And obviously, I'm a diehard Gopher family. We've got season tickets, and I got my nephew's 20 years old. But from the time he was 6, 7 years old, he liked to swim upstream. He liked to be a burr under our saddle, but he couldn't take it so far. He couldn't go be a fan of Wisconsin. That was too much. That's like kissing Hitler on the mouth. He couldn't do it. And with all due respect to you and your alma mater, he didn't have it in him to become a North Dakota fan either. So he decided early on that he would be a Bulldog fan. He did it partly to piss off the family, and also partly because it's a sister institution. It's part of the family. So he could do it by being a burr under the saddle, but not completely getting himself excommunicated. But in all honesty, he's a 20-year-old kid. He's a sophomore up at Duluth now. You can't miss him. He's 6'5" with curly hair. But he was a defenseman with a mean streak back in the day. You should have looked him up. But he I mean,
the way the second half was going, I should have.
Well, he still is. 6'5". But I mean, I had the pleasure of sitting next to him at the X when you guys won the national title, and I tell you what, I jumped to my feet when it happened too. I mean, I couldn't help myself. It was a great weekend, and to see my nephew have the time of his life. I mean, it was almost as special for me as when I saw it in 2002 with Patolny and the boys.
Yeah, it was. That was obviously fun. It was a great place to have the tournament, and obviously great for our fans and our community to be able to get down there. But it's a pretty special building, for our program as well as probably Minnesota.
I'll tell you right now, Scott, when you guys lost to Denver a couple of weeks ago, my first thought was, I don't want to be the team that plays Duluth. I mean, going back to the WCHA days, the old WCHA, those 2 or 3 days at the X were a grind, physical, emotional grind. And I've seen teams miss playoffs, have that first-round loss, which nobody wants. I understand that. But when I've seen teams have that first-round loss and come out just spitting fire in the NCAAs, that week off can be a good thing.
Well, we hope so. I mean, obviously the last month and a half, we had injuries to key players, which everybody goes through. But it was a struggle, and we kind of kept our head above water. But I think Denver was just the better team, certainly Saturday, and I thought we played a strong game Friday. We had a couple defensemen playing forward, and we had one suspension with Krause. But I'm not a guy that makes excuses. I mean, I think we look at it as that's certainly we're going to have a healthier lineup. We're getting all of our guys, there was a couple guys that one was sick, one was hurt. You get your guys that have played through a lot of those injuries a little bit healthier, and, it's exciting. You kind of get your lines back together. So we'll see. Our guys are excited about that. I know we'll be a lot more fresh than we were had we had to play a couple games, but you never know. I mean, teams like to play at this time of year. Kids like to play. Obviously playing Minnesota is a great opponent for us because you don't need to say a whole lot to get your kids excited about that.
And I know, November's a long time ago, and as a coach, I'm sure it's something you're going to say over and over again to the media and in press conferences that the games back in November with Minnesota don't mean anything right now, but you did sweep them, and you had some success against them last year too. As a matter of fact, I think it was a Sunday game that you just absolutely rolled them at Mariucci. Am I not mistaken? A couple of years ago.
Yeah, they beat us the Friday game, and then we beat them on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah,
and,
like 6-1 or something.
Again, so both games kind of took. Each team had their way each night. So it was a good win for us, obviously, to bounce back.
Well, what about the weekend this year? I mean, you had a home and home in November. You swept them. You took care of business. Last year, you guys played in the North Star Cup, and the Gophers got you in that one, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, it's good to see that these games still happen. I mean, we missed the WCHA. You've got a pretty reasonable facsimile of the old WCHA right now in the NCHC, just in terms of how competitive it is. I think it's even harder because you don't have anything at the bottom. You know what I mean? We had, back in the day, we had Michigan Tech, we had Anchorage. I mean, we had some breathers. Not that they're soft anymore, but back in the day, the bottom of the WCHA was soft. You don't have that in that league. Even Colorado College at the end of the year was no joke.
No, it's been a really challenging league. It's been fun that way. There's no question. There isn't any easy weekends, and I think you saw that as the year went on, and you see that with the teams that we have in the tournament. Obviously, that's partly due. I mean, a great part of that is that we did a great job non-conference this year, where last year we weren't as good, and I think that obviously helped all of our teams with strength of schedule and getting 6 teams in the tournament for sure.
With all due respect to our head coach down here, Don Lucia, you guys. What is it with you and the Italians? You get all these guys with the vowels on their names in vowels, and they kill us. Whether it's Iaflalo or Cameronese. I mean, and he's from our backyard. He's from Lucia's backyard, for God's sake. But all the way back to Marinucci. I mean, you guys kill us with these guys. But then, seriously, I remember a couple years ago, Iaflalo, that 6-1 game that weekend. Iaflalo, I've never seen a guy charge up the slot with such reckless abandon and go to the net and challenge D the way this guy did. He was a beast.
Yeah, I can't explain getting all the Italians. I mean, I'm a Finlander, so they must like coming up here. But we've got some great kids from a lot of different places. We've had a good run of kids from down in that area, and we're happy to have all those kids be a part of our program. But it's been fun. It's been fun. We might not have all the big names, but I certainly like our group, and we've gotten, like I said, some great kids from down there, and we've got some real good ones, I think, coming down the road too.
Yeah, we've had a tie-in with the NCHC all year. Last month, actually, having to promote the Frozen Face-Off. We had Bobby Motzko on the show. We had Stefan Patton on the show. Josh Fenton a couple of times. And I want to ask a question that I've asked, I think, to all of them. Back in the old days of the old WCHA, there were 2 schools of thought. One was that this great schedule and this great conference gets you ready for the postseason. The other was that maybe it wears you down a little bit. And I thought it was interesting last year because the Gophers last year, I thought they kind of cruised. I mean, they had only a handful of conference games, and then they when it comes to playing like stuff like the North Star Cup, that's not a grind. That's fun. It's not like playing Duluth up in Duluth in a conference series. That's a grind. And I felt when the tournament rolled around, the Gophers were fresh. I mean, Bobby had a great team at St. Cloud last year, a fantastic team, and your conference champion. And the Gophers really kind of took them apart in that regional final. I mean, it was a 4-0 or 4-1 game, and it was really never competitive. And I thought to myself, boy, maybe this Big Ten thing, maybe you want to coast, maybe you want to breeze through the season. Does the NCHC wear you down, or does it get you ready, or is it a little bit of both?
Well, I think it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, there's no question. Every weekend is certainly a challenge. Throw on that, we played a pretty strong non-conference schedule this year too. Like for our team, just speaking on our team, I think that's been that way the last 2 years. So, there hasn't been really any easy weekends. Not that there is in college hockey anymore. I think there's a lot more parity, but I think playing some different teams, different styles that we see within our league. Western plays. They're a bigger team. They play, a more grinding style. They don't give you a lot of room. Then you've got some teams like St. Cloud, like Omaha, that get up and down the rink. North Dakota's got, they've kind of changed a little bit too. They don't have, the big physical defensemen. They're very good offensively, which has been a huge part of their team, as well as a solid group of lines. But it's different styles, and then you throw in some non-conference games. Sometimes, like our schedule this year had more of a WCHA flavor, so there was some familiarity with a lot of those teams. Obviously, we played Minnesota 4 times. We played Mankato. We played Michigan Tech. So, Northern Michigan. So that
Sure.
it was kind of nice to kind of go back to, and a lot of those teams don't change per se their style, but it's been fun that way to play against different styles, and I think that prepares you more than anything.
Well, I tell you what, I miss seeing games up at Lakeview, up in Marquette. Is it Lakeview? Is that what it's called? That barn they've got up there?
The old one.
Yeah, the old one.
They got the new one now.
Oh, I didn't know they rebuilt. Oh, good
too.
for them. But I mean, I remember watching, like in the mid to early '90s. The Gophers go up there and have to go against Billy Pye and Scott Beatty and Dallas Drake and Hiller, and it was just ridiculous. Or Hiller was the defenseman that was so damn good. God, they were just a loaded bunch. Man, oh man.
They had a good team,
the good
and
old days.
it was fun. We're going to go back to play them next year up there, and trying to keep some of those. Those rivalries, intact. I think it's important. I enjoy playing, certainly the Minnesota schools,
Sure.
and I think that's great for our fans too. And it's nice because a lot of those are close, and they can get to those games. And I think that's really a huge part of it too.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I made one trip to the Uper before we changed up all the conferences. I made it to Tech for a winter carnival a few years ago. And my vague recollection of the weekend is me and Jay Patolny at the hotel bar betting on speed skating. He said, "I'll take the guy in the red tights, you get the guy in the blue tights," and I got killed. I got killed all night long. It's just how it goes. I know we're probably a little short on time, but just a couple things about the actual tournament and the regionals. Regionals are a weird thing. I mean, now Manchester's sold out, which I think is great because I got to believe as a coach you'd like that too, even though it's going to be a very BU-centric crowd, and whether it's Minnesota or Duluth that goes on to play BU, but who knows? Maybe Yale beats BU, whatever. But I mean, certainly it's not going to be a home crowd advantage for either Minnesota team, but it's still better than playing in front of an empty building, isn't it? I mean, that's got to be tough.
Yeah, we both went through that the first game of the year at the Icebreaker. It was pretty sparse in there, and I think. For our rivalry with them and the matchup, I mean, it was probably, pretty disheartening for the players. I think that's what this is really all about too. You want them to have a good experience. You want, we talk about it all the time at our meetings, to try and create the best atmosphere for the players. And, this one will be good. You're right. I mean, it's going to be an Eastern bias, but, a lot of those people are good hockey fans too, and hopefully they stick around, and I expect them to see a pretty good hockey game.
Is it big ice? Is it a big ice surface in Manchester?
No, it's not. I know at the University of New Hampshire they have it.
Okay.
This is where their American League team plays.
Okay, I got you. And just in closing, just a quick hi to my guy Joe. Say hi to Joe.
Hey Joe, how are you doing?
He's right here. He's smiling. All right, thanks, Scott. I really appreciate the time, and good luck this weekend. Have a good trip. Yep. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
That's Scott Sandlin.
Tell him to treat you right.
He always does. You don't have to tell him twice. That's a good thing about it. Thanks, Scott.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for having me on.